fourth favorite book series is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. This is when I started to get really, really nerdy and fantasy. Like, I really started to like fantasy. Because these are about dragons and dwarves and elves and that kind of stuff. So it's really quite nerdy stuff, but I loved it. These are, I mean, it's my fourth favorite book series, so that should say something about it. But they are 4 books, Eragon, Eldest, Brisingr, and Inheritance, and it's basically about Eragon, who's a human, who finds a weird stone in the forest, which turns out to be a dragon's egg, and so he becomes a dragon rider, which is not a race, but like a group of people who have kind of been extinct because the king, who is a dragon rider, he's kind of destroyed all the others because it's a long story, but if you read the book you'll find out why. So he's like not the only, but he's kind of alone in his journey as a dragon rider. But he has, he travels with the local storyteller Brom, because like I said, it's unsafe for a dragon rider to exist under Galbatorix, I can't say his name. And he travels basically throughout the land, which is called Alagasia, and he meets elves and dwarves, which are mostly good people. They have, the dwarves I think were a bit more questionable, and the elves, they're kind of, I don't know, how you would expect elves kind of to act, like they're more regal or prestigious, like they kind of snobbyish, like they're higher up than humans are, they're more prestigious than them. And then there's also Shades and Razak, which are bad people or bad races throughout that align with Galbatorix. And this book is basically, of course, fantasy, and it has a lot of fighting. But what I found hilarious, it had like awkward displays of love, because like the main character Eragon, he fell in love with this elf, and just him trying to profess his love to her is just so awkward, but it's so hilarious. So, I mean, if you're not into fantasy, I would recommend you read this series just to witness the awkwardness of the love. So, yeah. Okay, so number 3 is the Robert Langdon series, I don't know what to call it, by Dan Brown. I have always wanted to read like Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code and the other books, but I don't know why. I only started reading them this past summer, and then it literally changed my mind on everything. It completely blew my mind. And this is the only really adult series on this list, so you see how much of an adult I am. But this is a really good book. It's about Robert Langdon, if you didn't know from the title of the series, who's a symbology professor at Harvard, but it really doesn't have to do with him being at Harvard. It's more about his symbologist aspect, because different important people throughout the world ask for his help for very certain things, and like they usually deal with artwork from the Renaissance period, which is really, really interesting. Like I don't know. It's interesting how Dan Brown manipulates the information about these paintings, like true information from the paintings, and to fit into this like national treasure like journey. So that was just amazing. And I think that's part of the reason why I love it, because I love the National Treasure movies. They're really good, and I think because of this book series is why I chose history of art to study as my third subject. And I don't know, it just, these books made me want to learn everything I possibly could. It makes me want to know about paintings and history and all that kind of stuff, and symbols and religions. And it just, honestly, you should really read this book. Maybe not if you're, I think it might be more towards like older high schoolers and like around 17 or older. I mean, you could read it as you're younger, but I think you don't really appreciate it unless you're a bit older. So yeah, it's a really good series. I do really recommend it. I mean, I recommend all of these books on this list, but that one is just great.